What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jane. Welcome to a new video. Today I'll be showing us how to make an A-line or a gypsy dress with ruffles on it. If you're new to the channel, you're welcome. Kindly subscribe if you're yet to subscribe. Put on notification bell, like, share, and recommend the channel to your friends. So right here I have a sketch of what I expect to happen at the end of this video, and on the sketch I have the places where our ruffles is going to be represented on our dress. And with me I have two separate fabric, and the plain colored fabric is what I'll be using for the ruffles on the main body of the skirt, the lower part of the skirt, and also on the bodice of this dress. Okay, so right here I have my pattern from the nape of the neck to the waist. I have done a video on how to draft a half scale bodice. If you're yet to see that video, I'm going to leave the link in the description box so you can go watch and learn how to draft that. Right, so moving forward now, I am going to go ahead and cut the lower part. Now, because our skirt is going to be in two parts. The lower part is going to have the plain fabric, while the top, the middle section of the dress is going to be the main fabric. So what I've done is, from my waist down to the length of the dress is 42. I've taken away 13 inches from the lower part up, and what I have remaining would be 29 inch. And now for the width of the fabric you need to put on fold. For the width of the fabric, I used my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 6 inches, depending on how full you want your dress to be, the skirt to be. So that is what I have done right now. And I have also gone ahead to fold my fabric into 4. So right now I'm going to just mark a line at the top of my fabric, and this line is going to serve as our starting point and also as the waistline. So like I said, I have folded my fabric into 4. I'm going to be cutting the front and the back together. All right, that's what we are going to be doing right now. I'm going to be cutting my back and the front together. I folded it into 4. So right now, let's go into placing all of our measurements. So placing the measurement, starting from the waistline, I'm going to take quarter of my waist circumference. That will be 7.5. Okay, I'll place it on the waistline. Then I'll be adding extra 6 inches to it, or 5, depending on how much gathers you want on your waistline. You can add more than that, but I'm going to just leave it at 6 inches right now. So from the waistline, I'm going to come down by 8 inch, which is going to be for the hip line. So I'm going to mark that across the fabric, and then I'm going to square it out to create the hip line for the skirts. Now on that hip line, I'm going to take quarter of my hip circumference. Okay, so my hip is 40 divided by 4, and that will be 10. So right here on the hip line, I'm placing 10 inch on that, and I'm adding extra 5 to 6 inches to it as well, because this is a gypsy dress and we want it to be extremely free and comfortable. Now, whatever measurements you have on your hip line, it's what you're going to be transferring to the hem of your dress. Okay, so at the hem, I'm going to just go ahead and transfer that measurement right there, and I'm going to be connecting from the lower part to touch the hip line and also to touch the waistline as well. So we are going to be creating the shape of the skirt. Now on that hemline, you can decide to extend it to more than 5 to 6 inches. Because you want the A-line effect, you're going to have to extend it to like 8 inches, so that when you connect the 2 points, you can see that the A-line effect will show. So right now I've connected from the hem to meet the waist and the hip line. Next up, we are going to be cutting this out. Note that I cut the back and the front together. So right now I have gone ahead to cut out the shape of my skirt, and after cutting, we are going to be separating the front from the back. Now, I'm sorry you might not see this, but just let me just explain. So because I cut them together, we have the front and the back the same thing. So what I did was I took out the front, one piece of the fabric, and set it aside for the front, and for the back I went ahead to split it into two. Now if you look closely, you will see that I have a crease line on my fabric, and that is what I used as a guide for splitting the skirt for the back panel into two. And also for the front panel, I went ahead to reduce the sides of the front panel by 1 inch, so that way I have the back 1 inch longer than the front. I hope you get that. Sorry it didn't show because I kind of forgot to video that part, but after cutting out, this is what I have. You can see that the front skirt and the back, it's not the same. I have the skirt for the back a bit longer than the front because I added the zipper allowance for the back. So right here, this is it. After splitting the back panel of the skirt, this is what I have. You might not be seeing it, but it's there. Okay. So now we are going to now place our markings on this fabric. So now we are going to be placing our markings. Note that I said we are going to be placing ruffles on the skirt. So for each step of the ruffle, I'm going to be placing a mark on each step. So from my waist down, I marked 7.5 inch. Now from the point where I have 7.5 inch, I marked another 7 inch and 7 inch. So the distance between each ruffle on the skirt is 7 inch all through. So I'm going to be having 1, 2, 2, 3 ruffles on my skirt. I hope you guys understand that. So I'm going to be having like 3 ruffles on my skirt, and then the lower part is going to have the gathered fabric on it. Okay, so right here I've marked all of my markings on the front and on the back, and this will serve as a guide to when we start gathering the fabric on top of the skirt. Moving up to the top of the dress now, I have my pattern placed on the fabric, and what I did was to cut out the same exact shape. Now I have also transferred my darts for the front and the back. I have marked my darts lines on the front and the back, so that way when I take it to the sewing machine, I'm just going to run a dart on the fabric. So that's what I've done here for both the front and the back. Now after that, I'm going to go and stitch up my darts. Okay, so after we've stitched up the darts, now this is what the fabric looks like. This is what the front of the dress looks like, the front and the back. This is what it looks like, and now I'm going to go and join them by the sides. Just by the sides, we're going to be closing off the sides of the front and the back. So I'm going to use the exact sewing allowance that I placed on my fabric, on the pattern, sorry, and I'm going to go ahead and sew them by 3/4 of an inch on both sides, and after that, this is what it is. So now to attach the ruffles, I have it in the length of 100, and the width that I have is 2 inches for the width. So what I did was I'm going to be pleating my ruffles on the front part of my dress. So on the front panel of the dress, I'm going to be pleating on both sides, both the right and the left. And also to serve as a guide, I went ahead to mark in 2 inches away from the neckline. That is where I started pleating the ruffles on the shoulder line down to the waistline. Okay, so the same thing I did for that point is also what I will repeat for the lower part of the neck. This one I also cut it in the length of 50, depending on how much you want the ruffles to be. So I'm going to be pleating all of this on the front part of my dress, right and left. And after we are done pleating it on both sides of the front panel, we are now going to join it on the shoulder line. So guys, here is what it looks like. You can see that my pleats came out really beautiful. I've pleated the ruffles on the front panel of my dress. Now I'm going to be joining them at the shoulder line so that the front panel can be complete. All right, so here guys, after joining, this is what I have. This is what the front panel looks like. This is what the top of the dress looks like. So moving on to the lower part of the skirt, we are going to be joining the front and the back together without closing the center back. Okay, so I'm going to take my front panel and I'm going to place it on the back, right sides facing each other. Okay, I'm going to place them right sides facing each other, and I'm going to match the waist down to the hemline. Okay, I'm going to do this for one side of the pattern of the skirt and also on the other side. So we are going to go ahead and stitch. I'll be stitching by 1/2 inch on both sides. Now for the ruffles that we are going to be placing on the guidelines that we've drawn on the fabric, I have it in the width of 1.5 inch or 2 inches thereabouts. And the length that I have is my waist circumference times 3. So that is the length of the ruffles that I cut out for each of the lines that I marked on my fabric. So what you need to do after cutting out these strips of fabric, you are going to either you pleat it on the fabric, okay, on your skirt, running from the center back line, from one center back to the other center back. That is why we joined the front and the back by the sides, leaving the back open. So you're going to be pleating from the back, from the center back to the other side of the center back. You can decide to pleat on all of the lines, or you can decide to do a ruffle on it. Now moving on to the lower part, which is the part where we are going to have our gathers for the remaining part of the skirt. I have it in the length of 13 inches, and I also have it in the width of my waist circumference times 3. So you can do more than this if you want to. So what I will do for this one is to go ahead and gather it at the lower part of my skirt. Okay, so that is what I will do. You can also pleat as well if that is more convenient for you, but in this situation I'm going to go and gather it all around the hem of the dress. So here you can see the front and the back have been attached. You can see that I've attached the gathered parts of my dress to the skirts. You can see what the gathered look like, and you can see that I've also attached one of the ruffles on the skirt. So you can see that the ruffle on the skirt is running from the center back line to the other end of the center back line. So I will repeat this same process on the second line and the last line that I marked on my skirt. So now I'm done attaching my ruffles on my skirt, and here it is. This is what it looks like. I've also gathered the waist to fit the bodice, to fit the main bodice, and I've also joined the body to the skirt. So you can see we have one single piece for the bodice and the skirt. So what we'll do now is to join these two together at the back. So I'm going to be matching the waistline so that we have an even line running on the waistline, and also towards the center back I'm going to ensure that I join my ruffles so that when I stitch it close they are not mismatched. Okay, so at this point I recommend you use your pins to secure all of your ruffles so that when you stitch the back closed, your ruffles are not mismatched and they come out perfectly. So that is what I'm doing right now. I'm using my pins to secure all of the edges at the the center back line, and I'm going to run a stitch on it and close off the back. After that, here is the zip. We are going to go ahead and attach the zipper for this dress. I have a video on how to stitch this type of zip. I'm going to leave it in the description box. All right, so here guys, after we have attached the zipper for this dress, this is what I have right now. My zipper has been attached to the back of the dress, and you can see that my ruffles at the back are not mismatched. They are matched correctly and they came out beautiful. All right, so right now after this, I'm going to be working on the neckline of this dress. We are going to be using a bias tape to conceal the neckline of this dress. So this is my bias. I have it by 1 inch, in the width of 1 inch. I'm going to use it to conceal the neckline of this dress, and after that we are done with the neckline, and then we can work on the sleeve. So moving on to the sleeve, I have the sleeve pattern already on the channel. I'm going to leave the link in the description box. So I placed the pattern on my fabric, I cut it out, I added 1/2 inch by the side at the top, and I added 1 inch on the wrist. So right now I'm going to be joining the sleeve, closing the sleeve sides and also the wrist, and after that I'm going to be attaching it to the sleeve opening of the dress. All right, so here we have it guys. I have attached my sleeve to the sleeve opening of my dress. You can see that this dress is really lovely. I love what it looks like. I love how it came out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know in the comment section. For the lower part of this dress, I already weaved it, so there was no point in folding the lower parts. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know in the comment section. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys in my next one. Stay blessed. Bye.